Ciao, welcome. So actually what I prepare today is like overview of my work as moving image-based artist. My name is Sara Tirelli and I'm a filmmaker and artist, and for me moving image has always been my domain of work. This also means that I've been working for the industry, mainly as director for documentary. I work a lot also in broadcast. And in a way my experience, professional experience, has covered a bit all the use of moving image language. Like, just to tell you, I even was working for Berlusconi as author like 15 years ago for a very like a prime television, maybe Giovanni knows it, Le Iene?
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. So just to tell you that yeah. Yeah, exactly, okay. So just to tell you that I've been done pretty a lot, but of course now I'm presenting you my research as an artist, because of course I always had also to pay my bill, and since I'm working a bit like more in experimental way, that's actually the two sides of my activity. So I named this presentation the cinematic experience, because this in a way is like the kingdom of my experimentation. Cinematic experience for me is not just the experience to go in a cinema, but it's all that is understood how our perception and cognitive approach is shaped by the moving image. That also has to do, you know, with my will to go under the convention that the industry many times give us for the standard grammatic. My approach to technology, which is also like one of the main concepts, has nothing to do with like the latest technique and the hyper, you know, of the, I don't know, 4K, 8K, and all these, you know, the progressive of the technology, but really look at technology as an object of speculation and how, you know, how technology shape and define our experience of reality. This is one quote that for me it's also very important. I don't know if you know Paul Virilio, he's a French philosopher, and with these sentences it's really, in a way, make a picture of Western society and how it approaches technology. You know, in here he says, sometimes we tend to see only the positive part of technology. But when we invent the plane, we also invent the catastrophe of the plane. And this is actually, I also approaching, you know, immersive technology, because, and then I will go there. For me, you know, my first approach to VR has been pretty natural, because I wanted really to see what this medium can do and what the specificity of the medium. Because as Oliver Grouse says, you know, the media is produce a new concept of reality. And when it comes to virtual reality, it's really the concept of reality that is under discussion. This is a Caronia, an Italian that actually tend to see technology as a tool for be free. And for me, it's also maybe a bit, how do you say, a very naive sentences, but I always wonder myself if we are free to see what we see. I will go also very quick through some artwork I did when it comes to video. And for example, this is a yearly work from 2011, where I was already experiencing with anaglyph. That's also, in a way, the approach of create a sort of apparatus and dispositive. But in here, I actually, I was asking to this actor to to recreate the same scene twice. And I didn't have like a stereoscopic camera. So I was just shooting first the left side and first the right. In this sense, I was really looking for the human error, you know? So, of course, an actor can't be always like the same into moment of the same acting. And by doing so, of course, I was looking for the error in the anaglyph, and this is like a work about pycnolepsy, which is a concept always from Paul Virilio, and it's really a matter with a sort of dissociative state of mind that we tend to develop when we are overwhelmed by technological input. I go fast, of course. I have like some the link, but this is like how I install it. It was in Torino, Fondazione Spinola Banna. So I really did like a small LED video with two holes in the wall, and you will like follow this lady where actually she was wondering herself about objective and subjective. Then Cassandra, maybe while I speak I can put the video. In a way, this is for me a sort of, oops, sorry. This is my desktop, too many things, hold on. Where did it go? Okay, this is Cassandra. I put it in, okay, guys, okay. I show you this only just to tell you how I like to experiment with technology, and this is a sort of performance, I would say. It's shot in Venice and it's shot in 60 millimeters. And I always define, and in a way, my work is always a sort of political statement. So Cassandra has been shot in one take, only from the boat. Okay, I'm coming here. I had this actor. It's been a pretty crazy shooting because we were like two boats. We never went on a mainland, and the challenge was big for me because I never shot with 60 millimeter, and so of course it was totally like different. You cannot see what you're doing, and then also the challenge was I want to do in slow motion, so even the film was like I could shoot like 3 minutes, something like that. And in a way, it was really interesting because it was really also the acting, of directing in a very neat way. In a way, I had to know what I wanted to do. I call it performance because in a way here, I also use the 60 millimeter because I was looking a bit to the imaginary of sci-fi movie. And the performance also has to do with the smoke because I took all these SOS, when you are in emergency in a boat. And the political statement was against the cruise ship in Venice because we had this huge problem of cruise ship and the pollution. And she interpreted Cassandra. That's also the makeup I decided to make her, and she was an amazing performer because she had to be all the day like with closed eyes. So this was really also in a way demanding and difficult. The very latest result of the performance is that, of course, we were waiting for the, emergency that will come to help us, but nothing actually happened in the lagoon of Venice that anyhow is really, there is a lot of supervising there. And yeah, this is one. Sorry, but I don't find my presentation anymore. Are you recording this? Yes. Okay. Voila, let's go back. Okay, then, very quick, this is also another work. This is more recent, from 2020. And for me, this is a documentary. In this case, I shoot with a full spectrum camera. I don't know if you are familiar with that. That's always, with a sort of the poetic to try to capture the invisible, what we cannot see. There is a very famous also work from Richard Moss, but just to tell you this, I use here aerochrome technique that was developed by Kodak in the 60s for the Vietnam, during the Vietnam War, and would allow the military, the USA military, to see the enemy in the jungle. So this actually was a technology of vision, and I think that you all know that all technology has been first developed in a military context. So in this case, I shoot this video during the flooding in Venice because in 2019 we experienced an exceptional flooding. And I also juxtapose fragment from Ballard, that is a sci-fi writer, and with the drone world. And by doing so, in a way, I was, shooting, with the boots in Venice during like 3 weeks. And for me, that was a very important, in a way, experience, thinking about how we run out about a positive imaginary of the future and how all the sci-fi imaginary has become our reality. Apart from what I experienced, I think we all experience now, you know, the image we see on the television, maybe even I remember this Australian fire, you know, I don't know if you recall. So something that we always thought that belonged to the domain of fiction, they really actually just intrude in our daily life. And a tale that I always say during this, maybe in the meanwhile I show you something here a bit. Okay, this is starting from Greece. Now I don't tell you all the concept, but an experience that for me was really strong in that days in Venice. Is that while we were closing our room, you know, we had even the siren and the alarm shouting, and I had to host my neighbor for, I don't know, 20 days because she was living on the first floor and all her room went out. It's really about this concept of Venice as Atlantida. So actually, you know, for me, you can't stop the disappearing of Venice. But while I was there, I bumped into a news of a brand new hotel, luxury hotel in Dubai, where they have a pavilion in Venice, and their most luxury suite is actually an underwater suite. So I was thinking, oh my God, we are sinking, and in a way we are remerging in the new world as imaginary. And so all, you know, the concept of imaginary is for me, in a way, yeah, really important. I go a bit fast, but this is a bit the feeling. So also in this sense, I don't know which kind of genre it's definitely like starting from a documentary. So these are like actual shooting of the city of Venice during the day. But by using this technique of the full spectrum, I had this sort of fulfillment of, you know, we don't have answer, and in a way I'm trying to depict what we cannot see. So in a way, the invisible. And okay, there is the Italian translation under. Maybe you can hear how the sound was. I collaborate with Giuseppe Cordaro, a sound sculptor, and that's where I use some extract of Jean Ballard novel, A Drawn World, because in a way, what used to be like a fiction, it was really describing what I was living, because also in the Drawn World, Ballard was quoting Venice more than once. And in a way, this is a work, very philosophical word, but what I want to convey is that the apocalypse is not actually the end of the world. It might be, you know, an opportunity to reset our value. Okay, I'll show a bit. And so, you know, also in this sense, I never, you know, these are all work down with really little production, you know, that's not like, it's really like spontaneous, as much as also, you know, Cassandra, we were just like 3 friends. And I forgot to tell you that this, I don't know if you understood, but this pink is not post-production, it's actually on the moment of the shooting. And going back on what I told you about the use the militaries did in the Vietnam, it was extruding the jungle because it reacts to the green and to the chlorophyllian process. So that's why they could spot the enemy in the jungle, because the jungle would become all, you know, and if you think to the digital now technology of vision, this is something that we understand, but back then it was coming from this, this military use. Okay, I go on because this is actually the XR Academy, and so here we are with immersive technology. Okay, I come more from, you know, the filmmaking, and what I think is that now we are living a very exciting moment in terms of freedom, because that's my obsession, to be free. And that's what I meant in the beginning, you know, that working in the industry, there is a standard language, but a convention of the grammar. And actually, for me, it's really a matter of, you know, existing to actually find different way to depict reality. So this is, of course, a recreation, but I think you all you all recognize the famous Lumiere event, so the film of the train, when the people thought that actually the train was about to arrive in the cinema, and so they start to escape. And this is a bit what we are experiencing with virtual reality, where, you know, there is this short circuit, let's see, between the real and the virtual, but then actually my statement, and then you will see, is that the virtual is also real. This is a pretty funny movie, but that I love, and also I want to show you because, you know, technology also has to do with our ability to adapt to it. So, you know, the new generation, we do embody technology, and by doing so, also our perception and cognitive approach is really shaped and melt with the use of technology we are doing. Yesterday, we were talking about this new Apple Vision Pro. We are there. But for me, it's important also not to see this technology as dystopian. I prefer to see like a kind of utopian, you know, use. And now this is the debate. There are people that see dystopian in all this technology, and then there are the real, the enthusiasts. But I think this is a very important for artists to experiment in order to make a proper use of this technology. Okay. So this is the grandma looking. You know, she's wondering, is this real? The same, you know, about the Lumiere. So then I don't know whatever this is real or not, but I love this movie because I think it's video because I think it's a big example, you know, about the confusion and how our brain is really likely to be teased on what we see. And that's also, I think, the responsibility in a way when you work with this technology. Always, you know, think about the output. Okay, yeah, that's also. That's Italian, sorry. This is actually one of my first experience in Venice when I entered the first immersive competition. They used to, in the first edition, doing a VR theater. And I remember there was this audience. They were all blinded by reality, and I thought, oh my God, you know, a terrorist could come in, a bomb would I don't know, something bad could happen, but nobody would actually realize it. So my question, I'm sorry, this is in Italian, it's actually, now I translate, it's so if there is a radical mutation in the nature of vision, what are the elements of continuity and what are the new elements about the contemporary practice of immersive technology? So really, you know, seeing what the new medium is bringing as continuity, but also what is the rupture compared to cinema. So this is me with my first work in 2017 in Stockholm. Yeah, we were talking about with the Montenegro guys yesterday. I mean, I come from Italy. Unfortunately, Italy is not developed at all when it comes to innovation. We are so, in a way, we have a magnetic attraction to the old Imperial Roman and the Renaissance in the sense, you know, that it's very difficult to produce in Italy something that is more experimental, and I end up in Sweden because I won artistic research fund, really good, so I had the opportunity. They kind of left me for one year. I could do whatever I like. I had a very nice stipend, a studio, so like the real perfect condition to shoot, and I produced my first work, which is called Medusa. It's like a 360 movie, and it resulted in 2 acts. That's also because I was really trying to experiment with the language. So the first act is definitely more like theater, while the second is really, really more experimental and work on the sensory, and I play a lot with the space. If somebody of you want to check it, I have it. It's a very sophisticated work, in the sense sophisticated is very complicated, but the main goal I was really, that's also political, because I was coming from Lampedusa. Lampedusa is an island in the south of Sicily where we have all these migrants coming. So in Lampedusa I was simply doing volunteer. I went there in the summer, then I had the news of I won the grant, and when I applied for the project, my concept was to actually trying to make a trade between the, of course, I'm from Europe, the Europe in the sense European political, consortium. So what was the difference between the southest border to the northern border? Because, being volunteer there, we were talking with migrants, nobody of them want to stay in Italy. Of course, everybody was looking to go in the north. But at the same time, Sweden back then started to have a very closing politics. And okay, I go about there. So actually, this Medusa has to do with the contemporary crisis of the value of Europe. Europe, fraternité, l'égalité, all these things that actually they are not. Yeah, this is not happening. So really, the problem, in a way, how the migrant flow disrupt the welcoming and the democracy and all the value that we thought our European, how do you say, identity would represent. Okay, why Medusa? Also in that sense, this is also a work. Okay, then I tell you more about the seat, how I install it, because I shoot Medusa in the same museum where it has been shown. So I really work a lot on the illusion between the real space and what you were seeing. So actually, you were wearing the headset, and the film would start exactly in the same place. And I recreate also some sensory, sensory with the fan. Then I was like, all the sound from the film was also in the space of the museum. And since then, I work with maybe you see it here in there is these little golden things. Maybe I have some, I don't know if you see there. I have some other slide. These are the golden blanket that they use as emergency with the migrants, okay? Because for me, that experience in Lampedusa was always this, from the wind of this golden blanket. So I also use this golden blanket during the shooting, but in the last scene of the second act of Medusa, are all these blankets, just floating in the museum. So when you end to watch Medusa, I put like a sensor, a motion sensor in the space. As soon as you would stand up, the blanket would start also to animate in the real space. The structure has been inspired, a triangle, by a fresco from Jericho that is called the Draft of Medusa. I will go there after. But just to tell you, I want to, because this is more on perception, for me it was important that the user would not touch the bottom, the pavement with his feet. This because I was also working, I was experimenting with, of course, spatial sound and rotating sound, because I end up in a paper about how rotating sound is likely to induce a self-motion illusion. So with this artwork, apart from like the script that is really experimental, I try to experiment and test a sensorial, script, thanks to also this kind of device. So the short circuit between the real and the virtual space, these blankets, and maybe let's see here. I think I have a trailer just to show you. Okay, this is me with the. Okay, I'll show you this. So this is the museum. And for example, in the museum, okay, I want to go back on this, so maybe you understand a bit better. Okay, stop. This is the second act. So actually, this was basically the museum. This is like, I mirror then in Medusa the space. and this corridor would slightly start to compress. So this is also the use I did of space, what I meant in the second act. And it was all really on imperceptible changing of the ambience. This Medusa is still a documentary for me because there is nothing out of fantasy, and the script is anyhow based on real facts and news that I found back then. Also the reenactment, I did like some reenactment, but I will then go on later to tell you a bit better the episode. But I also use, I mean, this was a crazy production because they left me alone. I did something crazy because then I involved 56 people in the shooting. And I work with non-professional actor, and I work with also an unaccompanied minor refugee from Afghanistan. So this work also had to do with connecting, you know, in the scene in Gothenburg and Stockholm. And so I was really also, you know, as practice, really working with this community as much as also like the first class of the opera dancer and a crazy lady that I met, and now here she comes. Of course, this is the anthem. This is the crazy lady I'm talking about. And she, for me, represents the Europe. So I represent Europe as an old lady. Okay, this was my trailer, okay. But I want to show you a bit this crazy lady just to tell you how I was just proceeding. So she's called the Prima Donna van Isingen. Isingen is a part of Stockholm, and she used to be even the chorist of, Armstrong, I don't remember, very famous jazz guy, jazz singer, whatever, I will recall. So I met this lady in Gothenburg. Actually, she came to face me after a talk, and for me, she represents the decadence of Europe. So she was Miss Europe, rehearsing the anthem of the Eurovision, that really, you know, also the television, Eurovision for us was really shaping our identity. And so I depict her as this singer that was rehearsing before going on a stage for a show that never happened. That's also complicated. Maybe you should watch. Medusa. But just to tell you that I put a lot in it. Actually, Predrag watch it, right?
Yes.
Maybe you can tell a bit better because Predrag is calling me Sara Medusa always. Why I lose? Okay. There is a lot of stuff. I try to go quick. So Medusa for me, okay, this is the fresco I'm talking you about. It's from Jericho, and in terms of the, maybe you know Milian, in terms of the history of painting, has been a game changer because it was one of the first fresco that was portraying a real fact. Here there is the colony of French that had like, you know, they never accident, how do you call it, a draft. And they start to eating each other, like really an episode of cannibalism. And the few survivors come back to Paris, and they were starting to say how terrific was this episode. And of course, this is like all the colonialism of Europe, because if I recall the episode, they were going to take back a colony taken by the British. So Jericho, just by all the tales of this person, he portrayed this fresco that was very scandalous. So this is called also Medusa, and you know, going back to all the work that I did also with the iconography of the migrant, it was really, you know, in somehow a sort of boomerang that came back. My main concept reference has been a conference by Albert Camus that he did in the 1952, all called The Future of European Civilization. And he has really prophetic, how do you say? It was a prophetic conference that is just recently translated in Italian and also published in French, because it was a conference. And mainly Camus was just alerting Europe that, okay, you have been colonists, but just be ready that, you know, you took the call in Tunisia, you took all this, you know, the education of European, be sure that very soon they will come and they will occupy. So also in this Medusa, my treatment with sound, time to time, you have some sentences of Albert Camus that comes in the shooting. Of course, the other reference of Medusa is the ancient Greek mythology, and you know, as all mythology, as in the year, they don't have one meaning. They change a lot of meaning. But still, this is our problem for me in here, is, you know, Medusa, it was like not looking to Medusa, otherwise you would become stone. And in a way, it's like the tendency of human to don't face, you know, reality, but we do prefer to live in fiction. Okay, this is actually the text that the curator wrote about me, and in a way, also in here, it's really like what is perceived and what is real, and I really work a lot with the concept of fake news. So these are one of, I mean, this is the group of the unaccompanied refugees. I mean, for me, this is also touching because, for example, you know, one of those committed suicide because when I told you about Sweden in that period, Sweden, what they used to do, they allow our refugees come in, but as soon as they were becoming 18 years old, they had to do like 3 times, they had 3 times the chance to make an exam to get the asylum. But they never got asylum, and many of them committed suicide, and also there was like a civil initiative to stop playing, because that was like really like a sort of psychological violence. They were studying in Sweden, they had nobody in family anymore, and they were just sent out in Kabul. And actually now I'm still in contact with 2 of them. Now they are in Kabul, but just to tell you that this scene, where you have, you know, they come up, because I was very lucky. This museum was amazing because it was done in 2 levels. So in terms of set, it gave me a lot of possibility with the 360 camera. So you have this young guy that come there, and also in that sense, I work with the manual that the European Commission give to the interviews. So all the question that these children has to reply while they are doing this exam, and they are totally fucked up. In a way, they are really, you know, really cold, really, it's really an exam. So this is one of the scenes of Medusa, just to tell you just to convey what I mean, you know, when I work my script, it's all based on real fact. That's the reenactment, I want to tell you. I don't know if you recall this scene, it was pretty famous. I think it happened in 2016, 70s. There was a terrorist attack in a museum in Ankara with an ambassador from Russia. And what was weird is actually that the bodyguard that he came with actually resulted to be the terrorist. And this was streamed live, this event, and in the moment, like, people thought of, oh, fuck, this is art performance. You know, people thought that this was like it was fake, it was fiction. And also in that sense, because there was, and I think still there is, a YouTube, you know, video, I went there and looked in all the comments of the people. And so I take this comment and I put it in the script. So in that moment, you have also this dialogue that, of course, then went on like insulting, they went on religious things, and for me it was really interesting because people always say, oh, come on, this is fiction, I mean, what they're doing, this is art performance, the artist is so clever, the bodyguard, and so. Yeah, so what I did, I recreate this scene, just shifting the point of view. So up there were, I mean, once again, these are more subtle directing notes, but in that moment, I shift the point of view. So from like being a spectator and then be in the middle of the attack. And for example, also this guy, actually he was studying as actor, he's a politic refugee, he was from Kurdistan, actually. Okay. So this is my beautiful prima donna, Van Isingen, a really crazy lady. And the last, and the picture above, in the bottom, I also work with this dancer. They were students. Maybe with this stretch 360, you don't really understand. But in here, I did recreate the Jericho Medusa fresco situation. And going back to how I show in the museum, do you recall there is this pyramid? And that's also the structure of the painting. That's a bit, okay, I put a lot in it. Okay, this was how it was shown. So also with this mirror, I play a lot with the texture of this blanket. And since it was in 2 acts, you know, I had two stations. And for me also in this was really thinking about what is real and what is virtual. And so also in the exhibition itself, I was able in the design to convey the main message. Okay, then what I did once I came back in Venice, and also thinking about what I say when I work politically, it's always like political in a sense that I like to provoke. So it was the Biennale was coming, and I was chatting with my Sweden curator. But so, Sara, are you doing something? I would say, I'm so, because I tell you, I did everything by myself with Medusa, that I was almost, you know, knocking psychiatry in the sense that it was really a massive work. Because I was editing all by myself. Of course, I had a very nice studio in Sweden, but for me, it was the first time I was editing in the headset. And I was, you know, it was very, very tough work, but then I did it. And so I was just joking with the curator. I say, no, you know, virtual reality, no. Now I want a Venice real experience. And so I said, let's start to think about it. So what I did, it was like 1-day performance, and I created the VR pavilion that actually was a floating pavilion. And this also has been done with all the resources of the community in Venice. Being local was also like a statement against the jet set of art that when they come, they are really like tourists. They invade the city. They don't connect with the locality. And so Venice results a location for art jet set. And also, you know, that area in Biennale, if you don't have the VIP, whatever, invitation for the pre-opening, you don't access. And here I start to introduce the element of water that for me, as you saw with Hydra, Cassandra, is something that come back. I decide to do what following. Okay, I'm going to put people on a boat. They start from the Communist Party, that this Communist Party is not working anymore, is now is a club, but is not a club for the very old Venetians. So if you want still to find real Venetians, you go there, and it's the classic bar where old guys play cards, but you enter, and it's like a portal in time traveling because they have the Che Guevara, they have all these, you know, all that kind of culture, because anyhow, Medusa, it's really talking about obsolete ideology and the needs to overcome this left and right, and then of course, you know, it's always depends where you grow up, you know. So I decided to do this. I went to the Communist parties. Also in this sense, I was working with the community, and they accept to install okay, you see, this is how it looks inside. It's really like it looks like you enter in the 60s. So in the Communist Party, in the club, I installed the first act of Medusa. Yeah, this is how it was looking like. But then from the outside, this is the outside of the Communist Party, which is just there in the border, I organized a boat with like, you know, people were booking slot. And I put the people in the boat, like really, you know, like the migrant with the safe jacket. And I show the second act of Medusa. The itinerary that I choose really went into the Biennale. So this is actually the path I choose to do. And you know, for me, I could enter in the Biennale super, you know, closed area thanks to the water and the boat that you saw. This is a very, like a common boat. These are the boats where in Venice you transport goods. So, you know, all the visitors in the Art Biennale is like, how do you say, they are goods. They are not people, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Okay. So also in that sense, the choice of the boat is not that I wanted a fancy art boat. It's like, okay, this is all the work that also is in the back of the Venice Biennale, because they are all Venetians worker, and also in there the conditions are very, very bad. Biennale is really, I mean, it's very famous, but I mean, they are very, very, very bad when it comes to labor, whatever. Okay, so in a way, this was the real performance. And I plan also that all the path, maybe I have a video here, yeah. So you can see this is more like a documentation. So I managed that Medusa was, the film, the second act, was finishing before you would arrive back. So what happened? There was a moment in which the audience would take out the headset and they would realize, okay, I am in the Biennale. So what was my goal was not really showing Medusa, yes, of course, but once again doing this sort of short circuit between being the observer and then the object of an observation. And also, then we will talk more about the participant, really, I mean, record the fact that when you work with VR, it's very important, I call it the ghost script. What you do in the beginning before your audience put the headset, and how you welcome them back in the real space. Those are really important moments, and they belong to your script. So the VR does not start and end in the headset. You always have to think about what is before and what is after. With that, I have to say that was a success, because then, you know, also the Communist Party, we were giving like white wine and boiled egg, you know, really not something that during the Biennale they do it. They're always fancy, but in this case, I go fast. For me, it was a success because I don't know if you know Freeze. Freeze is a very important art review. And there was an article that was actually reviewing all the VR work during the Biennale. So it was Marina Abramovic, Anish Kapoor, Ito Sterle, and now I don't remember the other, Ed Atkins, and me. And actually, the reviews say that it was the most immersive experience I have all year. And I think, you know, the senior editor, if you read what this is an extract of the article, he really got the performance, because he said when the VR video finished, 10 minutes of the barge trip remain, sailing past yachts, collectors, critics, and locals. They stare, ranging from confusion to derision, because of course you were into Medusa and then you were on the boat with all these people looking at you. So this provoking, you know, message has really arrived to the senior editor of Freeze. So also, you know, I never felt so conspicuous, foolish, and displaced, because of course also, you know, Biennale always come with a sort of, you don't know if it's art or if it's something ridiculous. Okay, so by the way, I had a lot of, I mean, that was for me a success in terms of review, and of course I had the chance to show to this kind of audience. So now, what's the time? Okay. Now I'm working on a new project, Fadomin, and it's something that I say to the guys yesterday, that so far as you saw, I produce, but why I don't have the, okay. Sorry, guys. Are you cutting? Okay, and now I'm finding out that I opened the wrong presentation. Okay, no, because I want to show you something else. Hold on. Okay. That's why I did not sorry, because I was, that's why it was in Italian. Okay, I go a bit fast. Are you bored? No. Okay, rewind, then you're gonna cut, right? Okay, this is another video I did, but I don't go in the video, just to tell you that I was working with the installation 3-channel. Okay, you see, I remember that it was in English. Okay, so that actually was my question. And these are, so these are for me for me, and also, I mean, this is a sort of glossary, you know? So this was my question coming from filmmaking. If there is a radical mutation in the nature of vision, what are the forms and methods that we eventually be discards, and what are the elements of continuity? So in that sense, you know, now the image, and we were talking about spatial storytelling yesterday, the image become the environment. So that's the very first rupture. I don't have any distance anymore. I do inhabit the image. So the image has become my space. Then you have the illusion of being there, you know, also the old lady with the shark, and there is this sense of presence. Of course, cinema is an immersive, how do you say, is an immersive experience, but you don't feel to react, you know, if you have a close-up, you know that is a close-up. The embodiment, it also means the fact that apart that you react to what is happening, you do have a body. Of course, it depends on the kind of experiences. Yesterday, I think you had a body in one experience, but also in that sense, you can choose to have a body or not to have a body, but still you can react and you can see yourself, and this is what it means, the agency, so also the possibility, I am in VR and I'm able to do this, so also to interact with the environment. Okay, I just want to show you what I did before Medusa, just to tell you how much Medusa occupied my mind. I did like 2 research work before that is called Notes on Medusa. In here, I produced this. It was 3D printing, and I was looking for something that looked like a headset, but also was like a sort of middle-aged helmet. And I just work with sound. So in here, I was working with binaural sound. And this was an installation I had the opportunity to show in Genova, in this very nice church. And so you would just go under this helmet, maybe thinking you were seeing something. No, it was total dark and was all on sound. And since I was already working on the anthem of the Eurovision, I worked with a T-tap dancer that she would really start to come in from far away and then always more be close to you and start to dance this anthem, Eurovision anthem, but also in a sort of creepy way. I don't know if you are familiar with binaural, but binaural is a technique as much as the stereoscopy that really reproduce how we hear in real life. And also I use this technique in pycnolepsy, this very first movie I show you in an anaglyph, because it's amazing. If you close the eyes and maybe while you record, you do whisper in the eyes, you're very likely to react. So it really gives a physical power to the sound. It's really amazing. So this is the preparatory, and also in that sense, it's not a Medusa 2. This is actually my very first work in 360. And in here, I was shooting myself in the corridor of my studio, and I was just replicating. So these feelings of projecting yourself. In here, I don't have picture, but I prepared this and I show it during a performance festival in Sweden. So before going to this scene, I was actually dressed as in the same way I shoot myself. So the video was starting with me. I mean, I would put you the headset, and the first image you would have seen, it was me dressed in the same way. So this is something that then I did also, you know, with the main Medusa in the museum. So I would put the headset and you had me there. And then in the live, I was, you know, going around the audience, and my research point at that moment was like to check how blind, you know, people were becoming with VR. So I was really trying to see if people were reacting to the digital virtual me or to the physical me. And also being Sweden, you know, in Italy and also in here we tend to be more, you know, we don't have this barrier. Sweden is like, oh my God. And so anyhow, I was really, you know, going like really like that, and people were, you know, really not perceiving me. And so these are something, you know, one of the points I was really starting to research at the beginning of my activity with immersive technology. Okay, ta-ra-ta-ta-ta-ta, suck. Okay, this is what I was looking. So this is a project I never finalized. Why? Because coming from 360, I say, okay, now I want to experiment with interaction. I want to try other techniques. And I was selected to a residency at the Goldsmith Arts and Computing Department in the Goldsmith University of London. Unfortunately, it was during pandemic, so it was all remote. But I hooked up with a developer, and this residency was really about teaching to non-experts how to design interactivity, because they were developing a machine learning tools in order you could, because programming is programming, and this tool they had, you could actually record your movement and then decide that this was your reaction, your interaction. And for me, that was really important. Yesterday, I told you I'm not a fan of controller. I think that's already like a barrier. I like, you know, the body as interface. So in there, I start to work the body as interface, and the invisible hands. This is actually me. I shoot myself with a volumetric camera. And then, I mean, there are some effects. And the initial scene was really like, confirm you are not a robot. Actually, yesterday we had some problem with that. Confirm you are not a robot was already, you know, this would be the scene where I had this script in a way where then the robot, so the artificial intelligence would just say, okay, you're stupid, you are human. Okay, you can start. Then the invisible hand is always like a sort of critique to capitalism. This was pandemia. Invisible hand, I don't know if you're familiar, but it's like Adam Locke is like economist from Adam Smith, sorry, is economist from the second half of the 18th century, and is the one that theoretized the capitalism. So he used to say that the visible hand of the market would assure like wellness if all of us would perceive our needs. So very egoistic. So this is our, I mean, I'm not an economist, maybe I didn't say it good, but if you look, the invisible hand is really like the first capitalism theorization. In this sense, I wanted to create a multi-user game, just showing like the impact of human on nature. But this is also something that I never managed, because then I never, to finish. I mean, this is just a prototype. Okay, then Celia. Celia is another work I developed in a residency in Barcelona, Immensiva. I start to work with point cloud aesthetic, but because I really don't want to do everything that is already done, I was really trying to find an aesthetic, an organic aesthetic. So I managed to have this sort of fluffy and hairy aesthetic. Cilia are actually, is a term in biology. Cilia are the lashes of our internal cells that they are deputy to receive a sensorial input in order we can re-elaborate. So this work is also like, you know, producing an artistic frame as really see our body as a membrane. So, and really takes the fact that how we do perceive the space is just a result of our perception. So in Cilia, I work with a very universal interaction that is looking a bit like a prey. You know, I was a bit researching and is a transversal, you know, how do you say, gesture in humankind. So if you go to all the culture, when you are trying to connect with the invisible, with, you know, a superior entity, this is the main, how do you say, what we do. Okay, why I work, this is like a video, it's very amatorial I did during the residency, just to show you. Because also in this sense, in this work, it's like an obsession I have. I start from the real space, and then I modify the real space. So what you're seeing now is actually how I render a 3D scan of the gallery. Now you will see, but I start from a 3D scan of the gallery, where then I show. Okay, maybe.
Celia, how signaling proteins that allow the cell to sample their environment and respond appropriately.
Now we come in there.
Starting
Okay.
from a 3D scan,
So this, maybe you can see a bit better. This is,
Celia works as an invisible membrane
Okay.
that places the user on the edge of the physical and the inner worlds.
so actually that's the gallery.
The view of the immersive environment overlaps and creates
So I start with a 3D object, and then slightly, you know, the environment would become this sort of internal, fluffy, hairy, organic environment that would start to move and dissolve in a way. So you enter in a very like cold 3D scan, and then processly is starting to,
and no controllers are needed to experience.
you see, I was really busy, no controller are needed. And so then it really goes like psychedelic mystic, I have to admit, because then you see yourself as a sphere, and also in that sense is how we inhabit the space. This was a bit the concept, but always going on a very biological and organic feeling.
Action is based on intuition.
Okay, so it's a base in intuition, and then also in this I play with sound. So it's like you were entering a sort of placenta in a way. Once you were opening and the space would become like this sort of spheres, you would have like a different sound inside. I go fast, just to tell you that then I develop this work because what is intelligent, I have to say, of this work is that it's site-specific. And so actually, I only have one unity scene where I place my 3D scan. For example, I could create now Celia here. I do a 3D scan, I put it in Unity, I did my patch of effect, and I can easily, you know, replicate here. This was my impossible scan. So this is the Museum of 900 in Milan. I don't know if you see, this is the Duomo. So it was a very super location, and I installed this during, like, it was more like a talk in Sala Fontana. I don't know if you know who Lucio Fontana is. So the artist of spatialism. And apart from the neon in this room, there is this spatial ceiling he did, and really the fragments are like hair. So for me, it was like, wow, I have this honor to do this in here. But the challenge of the scan, I call this the impossible scan, because it's huge. And I don't know if you know, photogrammetry doesn't like window, doesn't like reflection, and doesn't like black. But I say, okay, museum, give me 2 hours, and I did, I don't know, something like 5,000 photos. That was crazy. Then maybe to the participant, I show you a bit better. I have a folder with the processing also of the scan, because then, of course, I reproduce this more as, how do you say, in point cloud, always, you know, working on this. But also in that sense, you know, it always depends, you know, this was also go to the things that it's interesting when you work as an artist to welcome the error, the digital glitch, you know, to make a perfection, to make, you know, super software with a lot of rendering maybe is not needed. This is just, of course, the architecture of Sala Fontana. And also this was pretty one-woman band approach. And yes, it's really distortion of the space. Maybe like that, it doesn't really look, I don't know, nice. And this is also what you always have to think about virtual reality. The effect, once you are inside, is totally different. Because once you are there, once again, you have a 3D scan, then it starts to, you know, to dissolve the feeling that your body has. They become really a narrative device. They are really strong. Okay, so this is a bit, okay, this is where I wanted to arrive. Okay, about fathoming. So, reality-virtuality continuum is not something that I invent. If you look, it's is a concept about this, the fact that virtuality is nothing that is in opposition of reality. And also when you are preparing your script, you need really to think about that. So it's not something opposite. It's really a continuum, and what a continuum means that what you experience in the virtual world is real. You do experience something. You will have a memory. So this is very important, I think. Okay, so this is more for the participants. You saw I did a lot of like a one-woman band show. This is actually the project that now I'm starting to produce with a proper company. I went to the market, but this is just the beginning of it. And this is me in real time with the Kinect. And these are all like the question I use like, yeah, because I started like 1 year or 2 years, 1 year and a half ago. And also in this sense, I was really working on the feeling of groundlessness and from a more speculation on the medium, these were like my starting point for fathoming. And for me, the last one is very important, escapism versus inner space, because fathoming is a work that actually takes you inside yourself. And so I work a lot on the concept of disembodiment. In VR, everybody is obsessed with embodiment because you have to perfectly like believe that you have this body and blah, 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 blah. And I say, you know, it's very difficult to accept you have a virtual body of an avatar. Actually, for me, it's always been like a not nice experience. And also, if you see all the psychological work, study, it's more likely that, you know, if you have a Georgiana, you have an avatar that is similar to you, and then maybe you have a monkey, because a monkey is your favorite animal, people tend to prefer the monkey rather than to a kind of fake you. So what happened with this embodiment? I work, and then I close, with always a Kinect. Okay, these are all my blah, 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 blah. But if you want, I go to the real fact. Okay, this is me in my place doing some tests. And this is actually the Kinect that I talked to you yesterday about. I just own one, but it's this volumetric video. You know, for me, also coming from filmmaking, is really more easy to work like that. So if you see here, you have like the real things and then my point of view. So I managed to combine the headset point of view with the live feed of the camera. Also in this sense, I did a scanning of my place. So also in this test, I, in a way, replicate what I always did. You wear the headset and you enter in a digital replica of the space. So you are in your body, you see yourself. And by simply animating, and actually I have to say that this happened because I was working like with a headset and I put my feet in the tripod, the point of view, you know, I move the camera. So then for a moment, I look at myself. I say, fuck, I'm there, you know. I had this moment of displacement. And so I say, what if I animate the camera feed? And then I had a very nice days in my flat because I start to actually fly. And I was leaving my body down. So I was up, and this is really what, you know, the lucid dream, kind of after that imaginary. And I was thinking, wow, but so actually I exit my body. And I start to think, and I say, okay, this is disembodiment. Also in this case, I was then artist in residence in a more academic context in the University of Milan in the philosophy department. And so in that sense, I think this is where I say it. I really was speculating about the quality of first-person shot in cinema and the one that I can reach in virtual reality. Because actually, maybe then I can send you also this very nice paper where they even analyze, you know, the scene of Ghost, you know, with Patrick Schweitz, when, you know, Ghost, the film? Yes. When he's killed, how cinema was representing this embodiment, kind of you know, through editing, and the fact that, you know, through virtual reality, you can actually really, for the first time, convey this kind of narration that you are living your body, or somebody else is living the body, because in a way you become an image at the same time, because we inhabit an image and you are also able to be an image. Okay, long story short, but I'm really going to the end, because for the participants, so you can see I work a lot and speculation, theorization. But from this test, okay, this is in a way, I show this video because also this is weird, because it's like I'm seeing myself for the first time. I think I have a video in here. Yeah, this is how you see yourself. So this is also a technique of the 3D volumetric video, and this is point cloud apply. This is the point of view. It's very glitchy, but of course this is like no budget or whatever. But this is the prototype in a way as I start to bring around a show. So this project became fathoming. Okay, now I'm not showing my pitch deck because it's private. I'm going to show to them. But just to tell you that from this first test, I'm now working on a disembodiment that is not floating on yourself, but actually exiting yourself and going down. And I'm placing these all in an aquatic environment where for me water is not like the National Geographic corals and fish. Is the real medium of immersion. So also in this case, I talk about water as a backdrop, as also like a background that ultimately make us relax. I know that this sounds a bit crazy, but fathoming as a political statement that invite us to slow down and also assess this feeling of groundless. So now I'm having this project that is actually a free fall. I tell now this into the depth of the self, and I can show you briefly my pitch deck, and maybe I don't give it for the recording. But so how you start to do things, you know, maybe here you already have a team, but you, Georgiana, and Emilian are alone, so how you start to present. Of course, this is also like budgeting. You see, I'm totally exhausted because then you always have to do budgeting. Sergio is my developer. But then, you know, I'm working on distance. You have to have a team, you know. You can't do everything by yourself, and you start to discuss and what to do. So now, actually, I'm doing a test because I'm thinking about this free fall under another water wheel since a year. But then, okay, between to talk and really, you know, experience it, there is, I mean, we see there is an ocean in the middle. Like, it's very important when you work in VR to test. So prototyping is really one of the main, how do you say, the main, yes, the main subject. Okay, very quick, blah, 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 blah. Just to tell you, I'm also, I talk about vertical spatial storytelling, since there are people from cinema, you know, cinema is horizontal. So, and if you think it's always like, you know, the story develop like that. With VR and with this disembodiment, you know, I'm really working on this feeling of descending for the infinite. You're gonna leave your body, but then at the end, you're gonna re-enter in yourself. That's also like a bit of theater. Indeed, I call it the prologue and the epilogue. Inside you will have like different layers, but of course Venice will always be there because I'm attracted to Venice, I'm attached to Venice. And so this is a bit the stage I am now. So really trying to work on the feeling of the water, the effect of light and sound, because sound will have a very, very big effect. And at the end, it will be an audiovisual composition in VR, where light and sound will be very, very important. One of the main inspiration is the state of consciousness that freediver, apnea, reach. And it also has to do a lot with, you know, the body as technology, how we tend to try to challenge our limits. So at the moment, my dream is to have a breathing interaction. Also, this is something that I need to test and develop. And in a way, this will be like a healing. I mean, I'm not gonna heal people, but I'm really looking a lot, and my inspiration is a lot on the use of in therapy of VR. You know, virtual reality is very good. It demonstrates a lot of success in healing post-traumatic stress disorder, panic attack, because it's really persuasive on the plasticity of our brain. Of course, I'm not gonna make in therapy with this work, but this work really come also and assess against, you know, the classical topic of entertainment. When I shoot, I do a lot of stuff, so I really do believe, and I want to give the audience a moment in which you can actually, you know, decompress from all this input we have and find yourself and really relax. This will have like a city that you start like in a sort of hammock. Also in this sense, you will be suspended. And now I actually, in my one of the distribution, I have met this guy since some years. He's so much crazy that he developed a waterproof headset. So one of my output as distributor is also this event that is actually working. He's a French guy. He's a crazy guy, Pierre Africain. He even tried to do like, he took a 360 camera to Godard. He's a very crazy guy, but he's doing good. You know, at the beginning, everybody was thinking this guy is crazy, but now he managed to do like venue around swimming pool in France. So he's actually doing this kind of theater exhibition where you float and you wear a headset. But so this is the hard life of being a creator artist. And voila, I finished. Thank you. Was this